Brittney Griner was caught on tape during a game with the Indiana Fever, dropping racial slurs against Caitlin Clark.
In a season already defined by Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, Brittney Griner's alleged slur toward the Indiana Fever rookie has become the WNBA's defining crisis. But here's the kicker: the league won't even investigate it. Meanwhile, Stephanie Smith, the loudest voice in sports media, is tearing apart Guerrier's hypocrisy, the WNBA's cowardice, and Commissioner Kathy Englebert's failure to protect the very player, saving the league from irrelevance.
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, now I've taken hits because I was calling it from day one. You got people that are resentful towards her, but she is really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black females that was doing their thing on the WNBA level. And they never got this kind of shine. This girl, the Golden Goose, comes along, and
the Brittney Griner incident has sparked intense debate about double standards league leadership, and the treatment of the WNBA's most marketable star. This controversy has exposed deeper fractures within women's professional basketball regarding race resentment and the unprecedented attention brought by Clark's emergence as a cultural phenomenon.
You folks, the WNBA already set a precedent. It doesn't matter what Brittney Griner said. It doesn't matter what Brittney Griner said, because they've already shown us they don't need evidence, they don't need substance, they don't need any type of proof at all to launch a bogus investigation into Indiana Fever fans, so they shouldn't need any substance, any basis, any evidence to launch an investigation into any other fan, any other player, any other group. The WNBA set.
During a heated matchup between the Indiana Fever and Atlanta Dream on May 23rd, 2025 cameras captured what appeared to be Brittney Griner making controversial remarks. After fouling out of the game, the viral clip shows Griner sitting on the bench in frustration with multiple lip readers interpreting her words as calling Clark trash, followed by what critics claim was effing white girl. The absence of clear audio has left room for interpretation, with some defending Griner by suggesting she said whack. Call instead.
That we were talking about earlier today.
And it doesn't take a lot of genius to lip read Brittney Griner, whose voice, by the way, is about as low as mine is, calling her trash and an effing white girl. Now, of course, if Caitlin Clark had ever suggested the same in reverse, using black as opposed to white in that sentence, that'd be the end of her WNBA career. But Brittney Griner is going...
The incident quickly gained traction on social media, with several users across different platforms amplifying the clips. Some of those posts reference Guerrier's 2022 prisoner exchange involving arms dealer Victor, about sparking widespread discussion about potential double standards in the WNBA. The controversy intensified when the clip reached millions of viewers within days, generating intense scrutiny from fans, commentators, and political figures across the spectrum.
Clearly, she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The Merchant of Death.
The Merchant of Death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the reports. That's who they let out for her. You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. What made this incident particularly inflammatory was the broader context surrounding Caitlin Clark's rookie season and the treatment she has received from opponents and fellow players throughout her first year in the WNBA. Clark has faced what many observers characterized as unusually physical play and apparent targeting by veterans. The allegations against Griner appeared to represent an escalation from physical intimidation to verbal attacks with racial undertones. ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith delivered one of the most pointed criticisms of Griner. Following the controversy, his most devastating critique focused on Guerrier's alleged attitude and lack of gratitude following her high-profile return from Russian attention during an appearance on a podcast. Smith expresses frustration with what he perceived as Guerrier's complaints about increased fan attendance and crowd noise at WNBA games.
Okay, we're not going to sit here and act like Brittney Griner was not in a Russian jail a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she's still trying to adjust to regular stuff. But for you to be confused why fans are showing up to a basketball game and not to do their taxes or their homework. It's hard. It's hard for me to...
Respectfully, Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison, Smith stated during his critique. You would think that somebody who is now free back in America, on home soil, would not have too much to complain about. Smith's comments referenced Gurrier's 2022 detention in Russia on drug charges and her subsequent release through a prisoner exchange that involved trading Victor about an arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death. Smith's criticism extended beyond the alleged Clark incident to encompass what he viewed as a broader attitude problem within the WNBA regarding the attention and success brought by Clark's emergence. He argued that instead of embracing the increased visibility, revenue, and fan engagement that Clark generated, some players appear to resent her success. The ESPN host specifically called out what he perceived as ingratitude from someone who had been rescued by the U.S. government and welcomed back into professional basketball.
Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about, especially something like this. Fans in every sport. She described the fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick. That's how fans act in every arena.
The sports commentator's response resonated with many fans who felt that the WNBA's handling of the situation demonstrated clear double standards. Smith's critique gained additional weight because of his typically measured approach to controversial topics and his previous support for women's basketball. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of this controversy for the WNBA has been the league's apparent reluctance to address the allegations directly, despite the viral nature of the clip and widespread calls for investigation. The league has remained largely silent on the matter. This silence becomes particularly problematic when contrasted with the WNBA's swift response to other alleged incidents of racism or inappropriate behavior. Critics have pointed to the league's investigation of unsubstantiated claims regarding racist chants by Indiana Fever fans as evidence of inconsistent standards, while the WNBA launched a comprehensive investigation into those allegations, which lasted nearly 2 weeks. The clear video evidence of Gurrier's alleged comments has received no official acknowledgement or investigation. This disparity has led accusations that the league applies different standards depending on the race of the accused party.
Now, so the way that it works is if no racism happens in the stands, the WNBA does a full investigation. If there are hard fouls on Caitlin Clark every night and Brittney Griner is using slurs, like pretty openly, against Caitlin Clark, then it's racism to even pay attention to any of that. You see, everything has to end in racism. If you were to create a flowchart, what it would look like is something racist didn't happen, therefore investigate racism, or something maybe racist happened but was against a white person. You mentioning this is also probably racism against black people. If you want to get people never to watch the WNBA, this is an amazing way to do it. Truly an amazing way to do it. Because if the league is going to be rooted in this sort of nastiness with regard to its only real star, good luck to them. And we'll see what the viewership is like in the WNBA. Truly.
The bias is clear for all to see when considering the WNBA's recent No Space for Hate campaign launched just days before the Gurrier incident. The campaign explicitly aimed to combat racism and create an inclusive environment for all players and fans. Critics argue that the league's failure to address Gurrier's alleged comments undermines the credibility of this initiative and suggests that certain forms of hate speech are more tolerable than others. Several commentators have noted that if the racial dynamics were reversed, if a white player had made similar comments about a black player, the response would likely have been immediate and severe. This perceived double standard has fueled criticism that the WNBA is more concerned with maintaining certain narratives than ensuring equal treatment and accountability for all players.
Did you catch that? Brittney Griner calling Caitlin Clark trash and a effing white girl doing a game? Now, imagine if the roles were reversed. If Caitlin had called Griner trash and followed it with FM black girl, the outrage will be instant. Headlines, public backlash, suspensions, and major sponsors pulling out. But because it was said to a white athlete, many are brushing it off or even laughing. That's a dangerous double.
WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbert has faced intense scrutiny for her handling of various controversies surrounding Caitlin Clark, including her response to the Clark-Angel rivalry and the broader issues of player treatment. Anglebert's previous comments comparing the Clark-Reed dynamic to the Larry Bird Magic Johnson rivalry drew criticism from players and the union for failing to adequately address racist behavior from fan bases. In a September 2024 interview on CNBC's Power Lunch, Engelbert was asked directly about the darker, more menacing tone of fan interactions on social media, particularly regarding race and sexuality. Rather than condemning racist behavior outright, Engelbert focused on a positive aspect of the rivalry and its role in growing women's basketball. Her response prompted a sharp rebuke from the Women's National Basketball Players Association, which criticized her failure to adequately address racism and harassment experienced by players.
I have never seen an organization more committed to self-imploding than the WNBA. A few weeks ago, I made this video highlighting how it appears Brittney Griner said, "Bleep, white girl," after fouling out in a game against Indiana Fever, the team that Caitlin Clark plays for. Some people like Jamel Hill, former ESPN host, says that no, she didn't say bleep white girl. She says bleep whack call, to which she then went on to call me a grifter for even pointing this out, but besides the point. You can watch and make up your own mind as to what it appears Brittney Griner is saying. It's not certain what Griner says. There is one way to find out. Ask Brittney Griner. However, no one has done that except for Outkick. It's been over 2 weeks since Griner said this. Instead, the WNBA was investigating a bogus race hoax made up by Angel Reese about
This pattern of responses has led to questions about Angelbert's leadership during a critical period for the WNBA. Critics argue that her reluctance to take strong stands against inappropriate behavior, whether from fans or players, undermines the league's stated commitment to inclusivity and respect. The commissioner's silence regarding the Gurrier allegations has only intensified these concerns, with some calling for her resignation. Angelbert's approach becomes particularly problematic when considering the WNBA's precarious position in professional sports. The league has historically struggled with attendance, television ratings, and revenue generation. Caitlin Clark's arrival represented an unprecedented opportunity for growth, with record-breaking attendance, television viewership, and merchandise sales. However, the ongoing controversies and apparent lack of protection for the league's biggest draw threatened to undermine this progress.
Look, I don't know for sure what was going on with what cameras caught Brittney Griner saying on the bench after she had fouled out against Caitlin Clark's Fever in Atlanta. I waited to comment on this until the WNBA was able to investigate it. I wanted them to issue a statement about it, but we have heard nothing from the WNBA, absolutely nothing. And Brittney Griner has not commented, which...
The controversy surrounding Griner's alleged comments must be understood within the broader context of Caitlin Clark's transformative impact on women's basketball. Clark's college career at the University of Iowa generated unprecedented attention for women's basketball, regularly selling out arenas and drawing television audiences typically reserved for men's sports. Or transition to the WNBA has continued this trend, with her games consistently selling out and generating significantly higher television ratings in typical WNBA contests. However, this success has apparently generated resentment among some established players and fans. A stark contrast between attendance at Clark's games versus other WNBA contests has become a source of embarrassment for some players.
In the short amount of time that I watched, I remember back a while back before Caitlin was in this, of all these female professional players bitching about not getting paid what the men do. And then it was made clear that when you have the draw, when you can bring in the money, the revenue, the advertising dollars, then you'll get paid more money. Caitlin Clark has made that happen for the entire league, but these girls are doing everything in their power to destroy the golden goose that benefits them as a collective. And the referees, it looks like somebody has paid these high school referees to basically ignore any